Hi everyone, it's Conrad Bobulak here, CEO of 21st Century Property Direct. I'd like to personally invite you to attend one of my live workshops that I'm running in 2014 called the Property Investing Masterclasses. Now I'm only running a handful of these workshops right here in our head office in South Melbourne. And I'd like to invite you along, and I would like to give you a bit of an understanding of what I'll be covering. The first thing is there is absolutely nothing you can buy in these workshops, so don't bring your credit cards because there's nothing for you to buy or sign. The second thing is what I'll cover is probably some of the most crucial information that you need to be aware of as a property investor in 2014. You know, over the years, I've spent over a decade educating myself to become a sophisticated property investor. I'm also, if you know my background, if you've seen me speak before, I'm a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, and I've spent my whole career working in the banking and lending industry and property industry, absorbing as much information as I possibly can. And here's the harsh reality of Australia today. There's very few property investors out there. You know, if you look at the latest ATO statistics, and if you take all the property investors in Australia, 72.8% of all property investors in Australia only have one investment property. Now let's face it, to me that's not really a property investor, it's just someone that just bought a property around the corner for where they live. 18% of Australians have two properties, exactly, 5.53%, 2% have four properties, and only 0.8% out of all the property investors in Australia have more than 5 properties. To me, that is the definition of a property investor. So let me ask you a question. Would you like to know what these people do and how they structure themselves financially and how they do their research? And what's the psychology that these people have that makes them stand apart from these people? And that's exactly what I'll be covering during my 2.5-hour live event. Here's a snapshot of some of the stuff that I'll be covering. The first thing is there's 2 parts to the event. So the first part is finance and how to build, structure and automate $1 million property portfolio from scratch. Now, one of the most important things that I'll be covering during this section is called the DSR ratio. And this is the debt serviceability ratios, or the exact formula that banks and financial institutions use to work out how much money you can borrow as a property investor. Would you like to know what that formula is? And also, would you like to know how to stack the odds in your favor of being able to borrow more money on a more regular basis compared to someone that doesn't have this knowledge? The answer should be yes. Also, what I'm going to cover, and this is a very important thing, is to know the exact ratios or the exact order that you should be buying properties, i.e. cash flow positive and negatively geared properties, because ultimately that will create more money for you and that's going to fast track your property portfolio as well. I'm also going to show you how to structure your property portfolio where all your assets are structured as standalone investments, using corporate trustees and trusts, and what specific lending policies you should be aware of and who does this and how this is all structured and built, because this is one of the most important things you can learn as a property investor. The worst thing you can do, in my opinion, and this has spent nearly 2 decades in this industry, is to buy assets in your own name. If you look at what the rich do, the rich control assets, they don't have direct ownership over assets. So this is a very important part of the educational event that I'll be running. The second part is the property market, part 2. You know, I'll be talking about where we are in the Australian property cycle. I'll be talking about where we are in Victoria, in Melbourne. I'll be talking about Melbourne in terms of hotspots, areas to avoid. So I'll be going through macro level fundamentals, how to do unbiased due diligence on any property market, and also micro level. Micro level being which suburbs I believe represent the best buying opportunities in 2014, and more specifically, which streets and what type of properties in those suburbs you should be targeting. You know, one of the most common questions that I get asked is, Conrad, should I be buying a house and land, a townhouse or an apartment? Well, it's very difficult to say because different properties work in different areas. The question is, do you know how to identify which properties work in which areas? And that's a very important thing to understand as a property investor. So if you found any of those topics that I've just covered briefly of interest to you and you believe they can add value to you as a property investor, I really encourage you to attend my live event. All you've got to do is check the dates below. I'm only running a handful of these and the seating is extremely limited to 25, 30 people max, purely because the room only holds 25, 30 people. So if I were you, I would register myself right now. Make sure you don't miss out. These events will fill out very quickly. I know we're sending out this email to over 3,000 of our members just in Victoria. So I believe many people will miss out on this opportunity. If I were you, just click down below, register your interest, and make sure you get there, and make sure you get this information, because this could make a difference for you as a property investor in 2014. This is Conrad Bobulak, wishing you successful property investing. Thank you.